All right, folks, today we're going to be tackling some gaming monitor questions that you've been too embarrassed to ask, or maybe you just didn't know who to ask. But regardless, today's questions aren't from any specific users, but rather a curation of a lot of questions that I see people ask both here in the comments as well as in our community Discord. And if you haven't joined our Discord, I'll have a link to that down below. So let's get started with the first question. What's the difference between a gaming monitor and a regular monitor? Gaming monitors are specifically designed for gaming, so you're going to see features like faster refresh rates, low response times, and better color accuracy. You can still game on a regular monitor or TV, you just won't get the same smooth, lag-free experience as you would on a gaming monitor. And that's because most monitors and TVs use 60 Hz refresh rate displays, meaning you'll never see more than 60 frames per second when playing, regardless of how powerful your console or PC is. And this brings us to our next question. How important is refresh rate for gaming, and what's the ideal number? Refresh rate is the number of times a screen updates its image per second, and it's measured in hertz, like an HZ is what you're gonna see. The higher the refresh rate, the smoother the gameplay, because you'll be able to see more frames. Believe it or not, most gamers still play on a 60 Hz refresh rate, and that's because most console gamers are still playing on standard 4K TVs, and a lot of PC gamers still use a standard 60 Hz monitor, so that they picked up at the store. So if you're someone who is either into competitive gaming and wants that extra edge, or you play a lot of fast-paced games like first-person shooters, you're really going to want a display with a higher refresh rate, because not only is it going to give you a little bit more of a competitive edge, but the games just look so much better. And if you're on Xbox or PS5, you're capped at 120 frames per second. So as long as your display has at least 120 Hz refresh rate, you'll be set. And if you're on a PC, I would recommend aiming for something that's at least 144 Hz, because most setups, you're not really going to get much higher than that on these intense AAA titles. And very often 144 Hz refresh rate displays are found at a really good price. One that I really like for PC gamers that I'll link to down below is this 27-inch 1440p monitor from Asus. And this is going to get you up to 170 Hz refresh rate. If you're a console player who wants both 4K and a higher refresh rate at the same time, a really popular one right now is this 32-inch 4K monitor from Gigabyte. And this would also make for a solid PC gaming monitor if you have a high performance PC and want that 4K resolution without sacrificing frame rate. What is response time, and how does it affect my gaming experience? Response time is the measure of how quickly a pixel can change from one color to another, and this is usually represented in milliseconds. A lower response time means less motion blur, which results in a clearer, smoother image during fast-paced action. I generally tell gamers that a response time of 5 milliseconds or less is all you need. And if you're a really competitive gamer, you might want to aim for monitors with a 1 millisecond response time for that extra edge. But I don't think most casual gamers would be able to tell the difference between a 1 millisecond and a 5 millisecond response time. How do I choose the right screen and resolution for my gaming setup? This is a great question to be asking, and choosing the right screen size and resolution for your gaming setup ultimately depends on how close you'll be sitting to the screen and what kind of hardware you're working with. For most PC gamers, a 24 to 27-inch monitor with a 1080p or 1440p resolution is perfect. Me personally, I really like 27 inches and 1440p resolution. If you're gaming on a console or have a really powerful PC, you might be considering a 4K display. Just remember though that higher resolutions require more powerful hardware to maintain smooth gameplay. So if a lot of what you play is going to be on a controller, then you're probably going to be laying back in your chair instead of hunched over like a mouse and keyboard, which means you're going to be slightly further back from the screen than those other players. So I would typically recommend something around 32 inches for those kind of players rather than something like a 27-inch. How do HDR and color accuracy impact gaming visuals? High dynamic range, which is what HDR stands for, and color accuracy make your games look way more vibrant and lifelike. HDR monitors have a wider color gamut and greater contrast, so you're going to see more details in bright and dark areas. One thing to note is that not all games support HDR, but it is becoming more common, so it's recommended to look for a monitor with HDR and good color accuracy. Are curved monitors worth the investment? I think it comes down to the size of the screen. If you're looking to get a display that is 34 inches or bigger, I would say having a curved display will be beneficial, especially if it's an ultra wide. What curved screens do is provide a more immersive experience by wrapping that image, the far out field of view area, closer to your face. However, the benefits are more noticeable on larger screens and at closer viewing distances. So if you're someone who's laying back in your chair a lot while you're gaming, like on a controller, and you're further back from that screen, you're not really gonna be seeing the difference that much. But ultimately, it's really a matter of personal preference. Some people don't like curved, others only will game on curved. So when you're buying your first curved monitor, wherever you're buying it from, just make sure there's a good return policy in place. In case you don't like it, you can send it back. What are the key features to look for when purchasing a gaming monitor or TV? This is a great question, and it's one that I actually have an entire video on that tells you the most important specs to look for when buying a monitor. And if you want to check that out, you can do so by clicking this video right here. Enjoy.